isn't it crazy the lengths that we went through and just literally like we're spinning and getting nowhere, spinning and spinning and spinning. And had been told that it was more diet related than cardio and strength training, I don't know if I would have listened because it was so implanted. I was so brainwashed. What about you? Do you think if somebody would have pulled your coattail and said, "Hey girl, do this and this instead of all that," do you think you would have listened?
No, like you, I mean, I say this all the time, like, why didn't I find carnivore earlier? It would have changed my whole life. Um, you know, I but I thought I knew everything. I
Yeah.
thought about diet, right? Like I thought, because I bought all the books and I listened to all the experts and, if but I guess if there had been vocal enough experts that weren't in the pocket of, you know,
Big
big
pharma
big food and big pharma
manufacturer. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
were saying this,
Mhm.
back then I might have tried it. But, yeah, like you, I always thought it was about the exercise because it can't be the food because I've eliminated the bad stuff.
To the Carnivore Connection, where soulful and heartfelt conversations take place. And today, Kim Shine is partnering with me on this episode, and we'll be doing some lives on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we would both love it if you guys would jump in the chat or if you guys want to come on camera with us. On today's show, we will be talking about sardines, the importance of strength training, agility training, body recomp. Actually, what is body recomp? How can we stay the same weight but lose clothing size, right? Which would you actually prefer? Would you like the scale weight to go down or would you like to be a smaller size? We'll be talking about that and agility training and the scale, the Renpho scale, and also Dexa Scans. So, Kim, why don't you go ahead and holla at our audience for a minute? Tell them who you are, why you're here today, and all that good stuff.
Okay, yes, thanks, Rose. I'm Kim Shine, and I am here today because, well, I love Rose. She's such an outgoing personality and, just has attracted me with all of her knowledge. But also we share this, carnivore journey. I mean, I love her handle, Carnivore Girl for Life. I would steal it if I could, because 'cause I'm a carnivore girl for life too, and I came to carnivore through a lot of pain and suffering, like most of us do, and I am happy to report that 5 months in, it's still the most amazing thing I've found for my health, and I keep getting stronger and happier and healthier, and I cannot believe it. I'm still stunned at how something so simple has solved what I've searched for forever. Forever. My whole life I've been looking to feel this way. So that's why I'm here.
Hey,
I want to share whatever I can with anybody who's thinking about doing this because I know it's daunting. There are, where there's so much against us with big food, big agra, big pharma, doctors, family, quote unquote educated people telling us we're nuts, but it's undeniable now. There's so many of us that have healed so many major things with just getting back to the proper diet.
first, Kim, how have you been doing for the last couple of weeks? What's been going on? Anything new you want to share?
Yes, I do.
Mhm.
You don't even know about this because it's not the scale, the sardines topic. But so I was watching one of the influencers. I don't know if it was Kelly Hogan or somebody, but the only thing I had in my diet that was not carnivore was the flavored element. And they were saying that even though stevia doesn't raise glucose, just that sweet flavor can raise insulin. And insulin is a fat storing hormone. And so, what I want to do is to your opening points, is I want to convert fat into muscle. That's my goal
Mhm.
now. And so anything that's going to tell my body to hang on to fat, I don't want to be doing. So I have eliminated. I was just having one element a day,
Yeah.
but I went to the raw. So there's no flavoring, no stevia, and that's why I called it when we started. I called it my
Yeah.
saltwater drink because or seawater drink. It kind of tastes like a little bit like seawater, but it's I can feel a difference. The scale
Nice.
will reflect it eventually, I'm sure, but I can absolutely feel a difference. And I'm a little concerned because I do kind of want those flavored ones. So there's something addictive to even just flavored stevia electrolyte drinks.
Yeah.
I am such an addict. But anyway, I'm super happy with my raw
Yeah.
element experiment.
Good.
Yeah, so that's new, and then I cut out dairy. I'm doing it,
Mm,
even the 1 or 2 carbs in the heavy cream or whatever,
okay.
and I wasn't using massive amounts of it, and I didn't feel like it was an addiction, and it's actually easier for me to let go of the dairy than it is the flavored element. But, yeah, I've cut those 2 out for 3 days now, so,
Good.
check back with me in a
Okay.
month, and,
Okay.
we'll see what the Renpho scale says
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I'm curious. We all have our food preferences. I like to call them preferences or intolerances, whatever we want to call them. So, what I'm hearing you say, Kim, is that the stevia, the little bit of stevia that you had, kept you wanting more of the sweet thing and chasing it. But it's, as expensive as element is for some folks, right? It's that thing, it's that one thing. And it's good that you went to the raw because if you're going to chase anything, salty water is a good thing to chase, right?
Yeah.
But do you have any more packets of Element in your house, or did you finish them all and then decide to go to raw?
I do have them in my house. When I decided to
Mm,
do this, I had a couple boxes of the flavored stuff, and so what I did is I ordered the raw, and I put the flavored stuff in the garage, and it's not calling to me. I don't think I'll give in, but, I do like when I taste the first sip of the regular raw stuff, I go, "Oh, it's
yeah.
not the yummy stuff," but I get used to it pretty quick. But I like to have it on hand in case my husband needs it, right? Because,
Okay.
he's sort of, he goes back in and out of ketosis because
Okay.
he is mostly carnivore with me, but every now if
Okay.
we go out, he'll have the bun with his burger,
Okay.
and then kicks himself out of
Yeah.
ketosis, and he has to get back in, and so sometimes
Mhm.
if he feels sluggish or a headache or whatever, I'll give him an element. So,
Yeah.
um,
So it sounds like he has a little bit of flexibility. He's
oh, a
able
lot
to
more.
flex.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot more
Okay.
flexibility. But I'm so glad he's on board with the carnivore thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to cook 2 different meals. I don't have to buy vegetables and stuff for him. He's very happy. It's just when we go out with people, he'll just
Mm.
order a regular plate of something.
He'll do his
Um,
thing.
he'll
Yeah.
do his thing. But yeah, like last night we had a couple porterhouses.
I
So
love it.
it was fun.
What's your favorite way to cook steak?
I like to just sear it in a pan and put it in the oven to finish.
Okay, I'm usually a pan girl myself.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. So, I will save this for another part, but I've been reorchestrating since I've been on summer break since the 19th. Yeah, the 19th, been on summer break, Kim, and I am just done with school for 68 days, I believe I counted. And I can't believe how tired I've actually been because I'm just so used to going, 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 going. And I took a 2-hour nap yesterday, and that never happens. I never shut it down and take a nap. So I'm using that as a warning sign to not overdo myself this summer. And so I've even reorchestrated some of what I plan on doing with my workouts in the fall, and I can fill you in on that. But that's the biggest thing. I've been cleaning out closets and took a nap. So that's the latest on me. So can we talk about sardines for a minute, my friend?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us your experience with sardines, and then I'll go with mine.
Okay. I was intrigued by Courtney Luna's attempt at 10 days, and she made it 7 days, and I was following her on that. And after she made it 7 days and lost 6 pounds, I also, like, follow Maria Emmerich, and she's, big on the protein-sparing modified, diet for weight loss, and so fat loss, I should say, not weight loss, and, so I thought, well, it's kinda in line with what Maria says and, it's worth a try. But I decided there's no way I'm going 7 or 10 days, but I did think I could possibly do 3. So I did do 3 days of, like, anytime I was hungry, what I ate was sardines. I had to, like, mash them up and mix them with a can of tuna, but I was surprised at A, how good I felt, B, how quickly I adjusted to that's what I eat and didn't like balk at it. Like I'd be like, okay, I don't look forward to it like a steak, but I didn't like I didn't feel like I was doing something I didn't want to do. Right. And so, yeah, after the 3 days, I did lose 2 pounds. So I think there's something to it. I think there's something to it. And it was a nice cleanse because we had just gotten back from that trip where, when you travel, it's so hard to eat clean. You eat as clean as you can, but, those restaurants, you don't know what they're cooking in. And so it just felt nice, like a nice reset from travel. And um, so I am one of these crazy people that if I am thinking about doing something, I just go all in. So I do have like Costco size packages of of tuna, salmon, and sardines now, and I do think I'll incorporate it like once a month. Do a 2 or 3 day. Okay, this is what I'm eating for a couple days, and I just they're right. There's sort of like this really great feeling to the sardines or the fish. Like, you just I don't know if it's the omega-3s, but you just feel a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more gung ho, or I can't put my finger on it. Not much because, beef hamburger is just like a superfood, but yeah, so that's my story. What about you?
All right. So mine started around that time too, around with Courtney Luna, Adrian, and Dr. Lisa when they started, publicly showcasing their goals and whatnot. And also, I think Dr. Lisa showed 3 or 4 different brands. And so I ordered a case of the original brand that she had showed. On Amazon. And then they also mentioned Walmart, and that was considerably cheaper. It's like $1.07 a can. So I'm not interested in doing purely a sardine fast where you just eat sardines for the 2, 3, 10 or days or whatever you want to do, because that would just send me back into dysfunctional eating for myself. So I need to eat every day, and the way I found that out was is I did a 36-hour fast, and Kim, I was not hungry. It was just my mind was preoccupied, right? So the OMAD works for me so well because I am a volume eater and I just need to know what time I am going to eat for that day and I'm good, right? But what I did was is I went gung ho kind of like you. I brought like maybe 80, 90 cans of sardines. Oh no, no, but I'm eating 3 a day. I swapped
Right.
one out, 3 cans for one of my beef patties. Instead of having 5, 6, 7 beef patties, I'll swap 3 cans for one. And they are a good source of omega-3s, calcium, iron, vitamin D. And sardines can actually help reduce inflammation and help with your blood pressure. And the sardine fast, I think that the ladies were doing that you were referring to, they were doing it as a way to get ready for an event and whatnot before they had their Dexa scan, as well as, reducing the inflammation, losing some weight, showing up great to the event, and all that good stuff. But also, I think Courtney Luna was talking about emotional eating, or do you remember her interview, any of that you can talk about, where they were saying that if you're not hungry for sardines, you're eating for other
Yeah.
reasons?
Yeah.
So, would you like to speak to a little bit about that, where she was saying?
Oh, sure, yeah, I love how transparent she is about her struggles. But yeah, she was basically saying that her eating had slipped into, like, it's all still carnivore, and that's the
Yeah.
game we can play is like, well, I'm still eating clean. It's all carnivore, but she was doing things like, looking forward to and eating her carnivore bar, kind of like a candy bar, like so. And she wasn't really hungry, and it wasn't a meal. It was in between meals, and so a lot of the doctors say that. Like Dr. Barry just said that on his Q&A yesterday, or today actually. Um, Snacking should not be something that we need to do. If we're properly nourishing our body with our meal, then we don't want to graze. Grazing and snacking, that tells us that it's either an emotional thing, we're trying to use food to address an emotional situation, or we haven't properly fed ourselves. Now, unlike you, I can't do the OMAD because of my adrenal collapse. It's too stressful on me to
Mhm.
go OMAD right now. I hope to someday get to that. But I've tried it and I feel better if I have 2, sometimes 3 meals a day, separated by 4
But
hours. So,
but that's the thing, you're listening to your body and what your needs are, right? And so long as you're doing what's best for you, for your healthcare, your mental wellness, and all that good stuff, that's all that really matters in the
right,
long run, and that you're eating the appropriate foods
right.
that you deem necessary. And then the snacking also with eating, I don't care if anything comes in a package, my brain is more tuned up to want more of that if it's in a package, to be quite honest. It could be meat sticks, it could be cheese. If it comes in a package with a label with ingredients, I automatically know to be on the lookout because it's going to be those $10 carnivore bars. I don't care if they were $10. I'm going to eat 12 of them until they're all gone from my house. So,
$10.
well,
They're 15.
talk about strength training. Oh,
Yeah.
girl, because I mean, that's something that you are getting
Can
into.
you see my muscles?
Yeah, girlfriend, I see that bulge, that bicep. Talk to us, because you're recently discovering that you actually love strength training, and
I
you weren't a gym rat before, right?
I was not, and, nobody is more surprised at how different my experience with the gym is now. In fact, yesterday, so I couldn't get there Saturday, and yesterday I did both my A workout and my B workout, so, like, 12 different machines, and, man, it was no problem. I enjoyed every minute of that hour and 15 minutes or whatever. And, yeah, and today I felt just like a tiny little tinge of, "Oh, I worked those muscles yesterday," but, not
Yeah.
sore like the old days where you couldn't even move. Uh, but yeah, no, I love it, and then I signed up for classes, so that's always, stressful for me, like, I guess I would say in the past, it's, socially or psychologically stressful, right? Because I never wanted to be in a class with other people because, they're gonna think I'm a dork or whatever, and I just don't care. I sign up for the class because the class is good. I get a good workout, and then, I don't have that social anxiety, that worry about other people judging me or any of that stuff, and I have to say it's gotta be the diet because I've over the years attempted many gym experiments and never felt like this. So yeah, I'm all in, and I'm so excited to see results. I mean, I asked the trainer just this week. I said, like, how long does it take for muscle growth to show up? Because I'm doing the Renpho scale once a week,
Mhm,
like Lynn,
mhm.
and nothing's changed yet, and it's only been 2 or 3 weeks, and he goes, "Oh, it takes about a month." So
Yeah,
I've kinda decided that, maybe I won't weigh again
okay,
until a month
okay.
from now, so that I can see some kind of change, because it's a little discouraging to just. Now the good news is that
Yeah.
my muscle mass is excellent, off the charts,
Mm,
off the charts,
okay,
and my bone
okay,
density is very, very good.
okay,
My visceral fat is low. but my skeletal muscle percentage is low because my
Okay.
subcutaneous fat is still high. So,
But
yeah,
you're 4, 5, 6 months into the carnivore way of life, and so if you continue to give yourself the time that your body needs,
that's
that
right.
that it'll melt off, right? So and I
Yeah.
can actually tell you that when I was, like, in my mid-30s and I actually started lifting, I used to lift heavy. When I say heavy, that delayed onset muscle, da 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 da, where you're talking about 24, 48 hours. I walked around like that all the time for years on end. I was very lean, but I was fat too, if you know what I mean. The definition was there. I was a little thicker than I am now because of the way I was lifting, but it just showed up differently because I had a lot more body fat on me.
Okay. Yeah.
So when your body fat melts away, what you're working so hard on will show up differently in 3 months than what it is today. And yes, patience is a virtue, right? And so the importance of muscle or wait a minute, let me just back up for just a minute. So is this your first attempt at bringing strength training or resistance training into your life on a regular basis, or had you had previous experience with it?
Yes and no. So, uh, as an adult, my exercise and gym experience has been exclusively things like spin class, cycling, swimming, things like that. But I will say that I talked my mom into buying me a weight bench for some reason when I was a teenager. And I can remember like at age 13, 14, I would
Mhm.
swim. I'd get my cardio in. We had a pool. This I lived in Southern California, and I would swim laps for the cardio, and then I would like weight train with this weight bench.
Okay.
I particularly wanted to strengthen my legs, and so I remember doing that and the barbell.
Mhm.
Um, and then, at 18, there was a brief period where I joined 24-hour fitness and I did the machines there, the
Okay.
strength machines there. But nothing like this, right? Like nothing where I didn't necessarily have a goal of
Mhm.
building muscle.
Mhm.
It was more just because, well, at 18, I thought I had this desire to go into the military for a brief half
Okay.
second, and so I
Okay.
was worried about boot camp, and so that's really what I was doing at 24-hour fitness in the morning at 5 a.m. was trying to get ready for boot camp. It didn't end up happening that I went
Okay.
in, but that was the end of weight training until now, right? So roughly 40 years.
40 years. Okay. Okay. But the main thing is that you're showing up now, right? And you're reintroducing it into your life and you want it to stay for an indefinite period of time.
Yeah.
So when I was like in my 30s, I understood that the balance needed to be both just because of some training that I had, right? I understood that we needed to have lean muscle, build muscle, yada, 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 as well as cardio. But I leaned more towards the cardio, right? And
Right.
now it's kind of in reverse. I'm trying to do 50-50 or more strength training than anything because it does increase muscle mass and it does help us to lose that body fat because we'll be able to burn a little bit more and it'll protect our joints as we get older. We need
Mhm.
protection in case we
That's
stumble or
right.
fall. And it helps us to improve our mobility as well as bone density, and it can improve your mood and self esteem. Have you found that to be true for you as far as it improving your self esteem?
Absolutely. Like, I walk out of there and I feel like, there should be the music from Rocky or something, like I feel, happy that I did it. I feel confident. I feel energetic. The endorphins are different. So the endorphins you get from cardio and the endorphins you get from resistance training and pushing heavy things is so different. It's like, I don't know, like, when I get done with a set and I have to stop and I'm like, I can feel my heart beating, like, it's an instant endorphin high, whereas,
Mm.
like, with the cardio, the endorphin high from that would usually hit me maybe 20, 30 minutes after. You
Oh,
know, like,
okay. Okay.
I'd get home, I'd put the bike
Yeah.
away, I'd, take a shower, whatever, I'd sit down,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden, there'd be this slow burn endorphin thing.
Mhm.
But the endorphins for me with the weightlifting are, like,
Right on.
during the
Right
exertion, and
on.
you know what I mean? Like, you just and it spurs you on,
Yeah.
like, when you think, "I cannot do this last rep,"
Mhm.
and then you're like, "But I'm gonna, 'cause this," and then you gut it out, and then you get to, like, sit
Yeah.
back for a second and go, "Ah,"
Mhm.
like, so yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Alright, so are you lifting exclusively in the gym? Or are you, because I see there's a bike in your background. Talk
Yeah,
to
and I
what
also have weights there. I was doing the weights at home. So, before I joined the gym, I was doing the weights at home, but I was concerned that, A, I don't know what I'm doing, and I didn't know that I would actually get progress. And so the thing I like about the gym is that I can talk to the trainer, like he set me up on the 12 machines I'm working right now, and he basically said, we found the amount of weight that I thought that I could do 3 reps of 12, and then he's like, "We'll work up from there, till you can do 3 reps or 3 sets of 16, and then we'll work the weights up." And so, and then at some point, we'll switch to different machines, but, like, he's basically making sure I'm hitting all the major categories between if I wanna do A on one day and B on
Mhm.
another. And so I like the idea that somebody who knows about how to do this is, available to me and kinda sorta monitoring my progress, um, because I felt like just doing it at home alone, it felt good and everything, but I didn't think that, you know also with free weights, you have to worry about form a lot,
Yeah.
and I didn't
Yeah.
know if my form was good.
Yeah.
With the machines, you're kinda locked in. Once you learn, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I have a terrible problem with my shoulders, so I'm always
Mhm.
having to remember to keep my shoulders down." But once you, like, remember your specific
Your
thing, like my
positioning.
yeah, then the machine kind of, like, make sure your arms and your legs stay in the right position as you work out, so
Is on your agenda for the rest of your life, it sounds like, right?
definitely.
And what I wanna talk to you about is how much energy and effort we both, back in the day, put into the cardio side.
Yeah, so I started out swimming as a kid because we had the pool, and I would spend hours in the pool, and I pushed myself. I would set goals for myself, can I cross the long end can I go the long end of the pool, there and back twice without
Mhm.
breathing?
Right,
Right?
okay.
I would set these weird goals for myself and, um, see how long I could stay underwater, obviously, how many laps I can do in what time, constantly trying to get more laps in the same 30 minutes,
Wow.
I had all kinds of, little weird goals for myself, but I loved it. I loved how it made me feel. Swimming, would still be my favorite, cardio if I could do it, but I can't do chemicals in the
Oh,
water because
okay,
of the estrogen dominance.
okay.
Chlorine is like it acts in the body like a xenoestrogen, like it taxes your body has to detox that chlorine and then it can't detox the estrogen, and so it's just no good for me, at least at this point in my life. But
What what about, like, swimming in a lake, or what is it,
I
other than
c-
chlorine that they
right,
use? Is it
I
salts,
could do that.
something?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
well, even the salt ones, they have to use some chemicals.
okay,
They use a
okay.
lot less with the saltwater ones, but they still have
Mm,
to use some chemicals, and it's not chlorine, it's like borax or boron or so. But anyway, I have to steer clear of that for right now. I know this because we had a jacuzzi, and my husband did
mm,
all the natural salt, silver,
mm.
less chlorine, but you still have to shock it. You still
Okay.
have to use a little. So, yeah, I could do lake or ocean swimming
Mhm.
totally, except that I'm a Southern California girl who swims in pools, and the idea of getting in a slimy lake freaks me out. There's
Okay.
catfish and weird fish in there, and I just can't.
Oh, okay.
It just freaks me out. I don't know.
I got you.
I wish I
I
could
would
get
I
past it.
wouldn't do it either. I barely get it my feet in the water when I'm with my girls at the resort. I'm just like, "Oh,
Right,
it's too cold. Oh, it's this. Too many
right.
bodies." Yeah, I got you. I
I could
got you.
do the ocean if we lived close enough to the ocean.
Mhm.
I totally would get a wetsuit and swim in the ocean.
Okay. Okay.
I'm less afraid of the ocean than I am lakes, but it's just not convenient. So
Yeah.
what happened was, I was swimming a lot for my cardio in 2006. I did
Mhm.
about a year of every day at the pool, and then they said they were closing the pool for 3 weeks to do maintenance. And I said to myself, "What am I gonna I can't not have cardio for 3 weeks," because this was back when I thought cardio was everything, and so I remembered how much I liked cycling from 20 years earlier, so I ran out and bought a bike that day. I did the day they said they were that's who I
Uh-huh.
am, and then I started riding my bike to work, and then I found
Mhm.
friends that rode, and then we started doing longer and longer rides, and before I knew it, I was doing things like I've ridden my bicycle from Redmond to Spokane twice.
Nice.
I was doing like, I'd do 60, 80 miles of just commuting to work, and then on the weekends I'd do another 60, 80 miles. So I was
Mhm.
doing like 150, 180 miles a week on the bike.
Mhm.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Um, but it's part of why I had a complete adrenal collapse because it takes a lot out of your body to keep yourself pedaling at an average speed of 20 miles an hour for
Mhm.
5, 6 hours straight. I mean, the poor adrenal glands were like trying to keep up with the adrenaline.
What did you
And
use for your fuel during that time? Were you using Goose or
yeah,
jelly beans, sodas, and all that stuff to keep
I
your
loved, loved, loved the peanut butter
Mhm.
Cliff Bars. I lived on
Okay.
the peanut butter Cliff Bars. I
Mhm.
didn't really do the Goos. I wasn't into
Mhm.
the Goos, but I did for a while get the gummies. Um, and of course the drinks, right? Like I would always have one bottle with water and one bottle with the sugary electrolyte
Yeah.
mix. And I would sip on that. But yeah, it was all sugar. It was all
Okay.
sugar.
You know,
Terrible.
so my foray into high level cardio really started when I was about 20, just after I had my daughter, right? So my husband kind of gently said, "Why don't you go to the gym? I'll keep the baby." That's basically what he said, but I interpreted it as you are motherfucking fat. You need to get to the gym, even though he didn't say that. But the good thing that came out of that, you remember step aerobics, aerobics on the
Oh,
floor,
I was big
and
into
all
step
that.
aerobics. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing that, I was doing the step mill, and I'm gonna have to bring some pictures in and show on here because I mean, I died laughing, but it was who I was, right? So I got hooked because of the endorphins, because I felt better immediately, and, it was just a straight addiction since I was 20, and it kinda snowballed into after I, had to go through, an agility or physical training for corrections in 97. I discovered running because I had to pass the Cooper test. I think that's what was called. Run a mile and a half in 18 minutes at 300 pounds. I was able to do it. Then I started getting into I started getting into 5Ks, and it just took on a life of its own because I felt so good, but I was so heavy. So I was running at 300 pounds,
Wow.
continued for years, ran races, had races every weekend, traveled. I mean, so I was in that world until like a year and a half ago, right? When I was just going to say, I was just told that I can still run at the volume that I was running, but I would be due for knee replacements sooner than rather than later. So I had to be an adult, Kim. I really
Yeah.
had to be an adult and say that all these things that I was doing to get well, running kept me stable along with the strength training, along with everything else that kept me stable. So from January of last year to June, May, June of last year, I was doing the walking thing. I have equipment here at the house. I have a gym at the house. Cycling, I was doing everything, but I was so bored because I was so used to leaving it all there. Like you're saying, the 200 miles a
Yeah.
week, but I was doing more like 50 or 60 a week, running at night, doing the whole nine. But I had to be an adult, make a decision. Is it going to be surgery or is it not? No, I don't believe in surgery for myself, yada, 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 unless it's life saving or whatever, life threatening, whatever. But Hotworks opened up. It's a Hotworks studio where you can crank the temps up to 130. There's like 10 different styles of classes you can do. I got hooked on spin because I like to be left alone. I don't want to follow a virtual trainer. I want to blast out on my headsets for 2 hours, right? So that replaced the running, and I was still able to get my high without having the pounding on my knees and stuff. So now where I'm at, I'm reorchestrating my whole lifestyle to get ready for the fall. For the fall, when I go back to work, and I can fill you in more on that later. But isn't it crazy the lengths that we went through, and just literally like we're spinning and getting nowhere, spinning and spinning and spinning. And had I had been told that it was more diet related than cardio and strength training, I don't know if I would have listened because it was so implanted. I was so brainwashed. What about you? Do you think if somebody would have pulled your coattail and said, "Hey girl, do this and this instead of all that," do you think you would have listened?
No, like you, I mean, I say this all the time, like, why didn't I find carnivore earlier? It would have changed my whole life. Um, you know, I but I thought I knew everything. I
Yeah.
thought I about diet, right? Like
Yeah.
I thought, because I bought all the books and I listened to all the experts and, if but I guess if there had been vocal enough experts that weren't in the pocket of, you know,
Big
big
pharma
big food and big pharma
manufacturer. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
were saying this,
Mhm.
back then I might have tried it. But, yeah, like you, I always thought it was about the exercise because it can't be the food because I've
Mhm.
eliminated the bad stuff, the quote
Mhm.
unquote bad stuff because, I learned early on, that, wheat and dairy and ice cream and that kind of stuff was not serving me, that was
Okay.
part of the problem. And so, you know, I thought that I was eating a good diet because it had, vegetables and fruit, minimal amount of just not much. Like, my drive home, I would have my apple for fiber or whatever, like I thought I really thought I was following the, get 7 to 10 servings of fruit and veggies in your diet and, all of that crap. And so if someone had said, "No, it's your diet," I would have said, "No, no, it can't be.
Mhm.
It's just I
Mhm.
need to exercise more."
Yes.
150 miles isn't enough. I gotta push it up to 300. I mean,
Yeah.
and so, no, I agree, Rose. I don't think that would have had an impact on me.
Mhm.
And, and I really came to this way of eating out of desperation, 'cause, uh that healthy diet was not I still could not function at a what I thought to be an appropriate level for someone my age. I mean, I literally felt like an 80-year-old.
What protocols? So I was on this standard American diet, counting calories, eating frequently, eating lots of Jolly Ranchers to keep my appetite down. The little Jolly Ranchers,
Yeah.
sucking on them all day. It's free. Weight Watchers, chew candies. But I didn't understand about insulin, which we will talk about in the future. But constantly hungry, constantly angry, so I was on the standard American diet, but I tried like a plethora, like 6,000 diets in between.
Yeah.
But were you following a specific regimen or were you doing at that time standard
Yeah,
as well?
so I was standard American diet until college when I had put on a significant amount of weight. I don't remember the number on the scale, but I remember feeling just horrible,
Mhm.
like couldn't bend down to tie my shoes kind of.
Mm.
And so I ended up in OA. because,
OA,
I'm
Overeaters
Overeaters
Anonymous?
Anonymous because 'cause I'm sober, and so in
Okay,
AA, so I thought
okay.
5, 6 years sober. I had
Yeah,
basically transferred from alcohol to food, my addiction.
yes, yes.
So I end up in OA, and at that time, 30 years ago in OA, there was this program called HOW, which was super strict. But one of the things I took from that, I didn't do HOW, but I did buy into the thought. They basically said you have to identify your trigger foods and you have to have complete abstinence from your trigger foods. And so they suggested that you see how you react, like which ones cause obsessive compulsive craving. And so I definitely anything with wheat or gluten. So, bread, uh, bagels, that kind of thing, definitely I could tell was immediately a trigger food. And then ice cream, dairy.
Okay,
So back then, I eliminated dairy and wheat. Now, this
okay.
was way before the gluten-free movement. So you couldn't go into the grocery store and find a loaf of gluten-free bread. So I was making this is how why I
Mm,
thought I was one of these outliers. I was one of these, you know, um, crazy granola people that aren't going to do the standard American diet because I understand trigger foods, right? And so I thought I was, you know, avant-garde just by giving up wheat and dairy. Um, but yeah, so I wouldn't say I was standard American diet because I never ever put wheat and dairy back into my diet as like a staple.
okay,
I would obviously have occasions where I would have an exception, but I never again ate it on a daily basis, right? I knew it was not good for me. And then what happened was as I aged, I had all of these I started to have things like, a little bit of depression, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of, just I knew something was off. And so I
yeah,
started experimenting and we did things like read about omega-3s and the importance of fish. And I went through a phase where I was like having salmon for lunch and I would like saute spinach and put a piece of salmon on there with a little bit of sun-dried tomatoes for the lycopene,
yeah,
and so I thought I was like this scientist that understood all of these good foods. I'm getting lycopene, with the spinach, I'm getting lutein. With the
mm,
salmon, I'm getting omega-3. So I wouldn't say I was a standard American diet, but I I wasn't obviously I wasn't clean because even with
okay,
that diet, I still got up to 220.
okay.
Um, but it was I always told myself it's your portion size, Kim.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just like you say
yeah,
you're a volume eater.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would say I'm a volume eater too.
yeah,
And what I was doing was I would come home from work tired and stressed, and
yeah.
then I would have a large volume of quote
Yes.
unquote
Mm,
healthy foods,
mm,
right? So I
mhm.
would have a large volume of whatever protein, a
Yeah,
large volume of sweet potatoes, and a large volume of the vegetable. And
okay.
um and so I told myself that's why I was heavy, is that I just didn't have good portion size control.
Yeah,
Because, when you're eating a diet that has the
yeah.
vegetables and the
Mhm.
carbs,
Mm.
you only get a piece of protein this big. You
Fr
only get and it looked like nothing on my plate and I'm like, why bother, right?
Right?
And
Right? If you give me
so
3 pounds, 2 to 3 pounds of meat and some eggs and some good fat up in there, I'm good. Can I tell
yeah.
you something? Not to cut you off, but okay, so Saturday I did a day trip on the Victoria Clipper with one other person, right? So she is more standard American diet, but I explained to her that I'm very particular about what I put into my body because of whatever reason. She's like, okay. So we separated and I just said, okay, I'll come back and, we agreed to sit on the waterfront in a half an hour. By then I'll have my burgers and da 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 da. So I went to Burger King. It's been years, Kim, since I went to Burger King. Girl, let me tell you, I'm going to be candid with you. It smelled so good because, flame broiled and all that stuff. So I went up in there. I made sure they understood that I wanted 8 patties in 4 separate containers with a slice of cheese on it, right? That's what I needed. I don't need mustard. I don't need mayonnaise. I don't need ketchup. I don't need any of that. I just want my burgers, right? Went and got my iced coffee, sat down and started eating. I was like, the first one tasted real good because I was hungry, girl. I go, they didn't season these. There ain't no salt on these. By the second one, by the time I finished eating those burgers, I was like angry because I didn't have eggs. There was no grocery store there. I didn't have eggs to balance it out and put weight on it. I did look for some pork rinds, but they didn't have those. So I was stuck with 8 patties and 4 slices of cheese. And Sunday, Kim, I was so hungry like at 10:30 in the morning, but I still waited until my appointed time,
Wow.
3 o'clock, because I don't want to mess up my cycle. But I
Right.
kept telling my husband it was because I didn't get enough to eat. They was putting
Mhm.
me on a starvation diet at Burger King. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. If you don't get enough to eat or you're eating small portions, it just fudges with your whole life. Your
Yeah.
energy levels, your outlook, your output. Yeah. Yeah. And so you got to make sure you're eating enough first and foremost, right?
Let's talk about the scale first because
Okay.
now
Okay.
do you use a product like that to track bone density and muscle mass, or
So
do you
for me,
rely just on the Dexa scans?
So for me specifically, I have a smart scale, a Renpho scale. I have a scale. I'm a daily weigher. That's just me. Every morning, like
Okay,
clockwork, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth. It's just a part of my morning routine.
right on.
But there was a time in my life where I was just compulsive with it. You have a bowel movement, go to the, get on the scale. Well, I worked out 22 miles. Let me get on the scale, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
for about a year and a half, I did cut it out when I was trying to calm things down, right?
right.
And what I'm finding is that I'm understanding that for me, having a range, I'm totally okay with it. I'm totally okay with a 5 pound range because it's going to go up one day and it's going to drop 4 pounds the next day, and the next day it's going to go under my average weight. So I use it as a tool now. I
Mhm.
don't pay attention to the water weight, how the smart scales, they break down the water, the bone density, the muscle and the fat and the visceral and all
Right.
that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to that because I do the Dexa scan. So that's
Okay.
a long way of answering you, but
Yeah. Okay. So my experience with the Renpho is uh I care less about the number. Like in the old days when you'd step on the scale, the only thing you'd get is your total weight. And I find that I care less about the fluctuations in that, like you say,
Mhm,
than I used to because now I have this other data to focus on. And so, yeah, there's a range. You go up and down from week to week.
mhm,
Yeah, and so I really don't care about that number, but I am now fixated on seeing that skeletal mass percent change. I would like to
yeah,
see that go up and that subcutaneous fat number come down.
yeah,
So, yes, I guess it's part of the body recomposition
mhm,
discussion, but it's also part of like not attaching to the total weight
mhm,
number, but attaching to, those two metrics, getting
yeah,
those right. And
yeah,
so I'm super grateful to have that scale. And I think I'm going to send one to my sister-in-law. She was over this weekend and I was telling her, she's like, "You're not losing any more weight, are you? Because you look great." And I said, "Well, I'm not losing weight, but I want to change it." And
yes,
I pulled out the app and I showed her. I go, "Here's my total weight. I don't care if that
mm,
number changes, but I want these two to swap."
right,
I want
right
the
on.
subcutaneous fat percentage down and I want the
Mhm,
skeletal mass percentage up. And I could see a light kind of went on in her mind like, "Oh, okay, so we don't have to judge ourselves anymore by total weight. What we have to do as older ladies is care about these other factors a little
yes.
bit more." So I think I might give her
Oh,
one of
look
those
at you. That's so sweet. I'm sure she
scales.
would be very grateful for that. For yes. So, the body, the total weight on the scale really is water, your bones or your skeleton, muscle and fat. And Back in the day, the number was just the number, but with these smart scales, it's helping you to see a trend that may be happening, even though you want it now, and your trainer's saying give it a good month, but you'll
Yeah,
have some data to compare it to.
right.
And so are you taking pictures? Because I think you recommended that to someone. Are you
I
taking
did.
pictures?
I recommended to Lakeitha that she
Hmm.
take pictures,
Yeah.
but I am not doing it. I am uh, despite being online on out on the interweb to the whole world in these videos, I am actually a pretty shy person. I don't like to have my picture taken. I don't. But you're right. I should so that I have evidence, right?
Yes.
One of the things I have is I have vitiligo
Okay.
on my forearms,
Okay.
and one of the things they say with carnivore is that gets better. And so I was thinking I should take pictures of my forearms because if it does get better, then I will have the evidence, the before and after. So I might do that. But no, I don't have the nerve to stand in front of a mirror, half naked and take a picture. I should
Okay.
though.
Yeah. I mean, because so let me tell you, when I went carnivore in January 2020, right? I was 193, 193 pounds. That's where keto had left me from 238.8 to 193. Made the decision. And within a 2 month time frame, by mid-March of 2020, my weight had dropped from 193 to 170, 168. So I lost like 23 pounds. So that was a lot of recomposition. It was a lot, even though my weight stabilized there. I bought a pair of like $170 celebratory jeans, like from the buckle. I'm keeping these. These are, da 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 da. So, what I'm saying to all this to say is, I continue to build muscle mass, lean muscle mass, thin out, and stuff like that. And I've gained weight back because 168, 170 is not my natural set point. It's more towards 180.
Hmm.
And the reason I know that is because of high school. And right now it's stabilized at 175. And you would think weighing more would mean that your jeans don't fit as well, right? But they do. They're actually loose in the caboose.
Yeah, because it's all muscle. Yeah, because
Yes.
it's all muscle.
Yes.
Um,
So your
well,
clothes are going to fit completely differently,
yeah,
even
yeah.
though you might weigh the same.
I know that's true because keto left me at like 158 and I'm currently at 165 since going
Mhm.
carnivore. I've put on the scale, I've put on like 7 pounds, but my clothes still fit exactly the same. I
That's what
mean,
I'm
they're
saying.
not tighter. In fact, some of them are a little looser, some of
Mhm.
the ones with a, a certain cut.
Mhm.
Um, so, yes, so I'm not worried about that number. I don't know how I get the skeletal mass percentage up
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
bringing down the overall weight,
Yeah.
because you can only put on so much muscle. So to get the subcutaneous fat down from 30% and the skeletal muscle up from 39%. So I'd love
Yeah.
to get skeletal muscle at 50%
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
subcutaneous fat down at like 25% or whatever, like within
Yeah.
lower the BMI into the green range. So I'm sure that 165 number has to come down to do that. Um,
Well, I know you said that you do really well with 2 or 3 meals a day, right? So maybe at some point after you've healed enough and you want to do a little bit more fasting, that might be a tool that you utilize periodically, like longer fasts. Instead of fasting 12 hours, you'll go 16 a couple of days a week.
I
If your
do
body
I do
is
15
okay, you do
every day.
15.
Like I
Yeah.
do 15 no problem,
Okay.
but I do feel a lag in energy at
Yeah.
15. So then I have half a pound of beef and a couple eggs and then I feel great. And
Okay.
for, 4 or 5 hours and then there'll be a little dip, so
Yeah.
I'll usually have like a couple more eggs,
Okay.
and then 4 hours later we have whatever we're having for dinner, like,
Okay.
a steak or like it's chicken wings tonight. But So I, you know, I have to like go by how I feel.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't want to start doing the OMAD and then get, to 18 hours and just be like dragging
No,
weight, trying to
no,
get to the
because
23.
because realistically, if you're at 15 and you're listening to your body now, one day you're gonna wake up when you're feeling really good and you're no longer having some of the symptoms that you're having pertaining to whatever is going on. You're gonna say, "Oh, well, let me try 16 hours today." And you're gonna do that for a couple of weeks, right? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna vacillate back and forth depending on how you feel, but what I'm saying is at some point in time, you may want to go that route as a means of helping you to burn some of the fat that's on your body. But you don't have to. Obviously, you don't have to, but you may get there, you may not, but it doesn't matter because girl, you are working hard with those weights,
Yeah, I'm gonna
making
give
it
that.
work.
I'm gonna see if
Mm,
that works. I tell you what,
yeah,
if I don't get some good results in a couple 3 months with the current plan, which is no stevia, no dairy,
mhm.
and then all the workouts, then maybe I'll start looking hard at fasting. But
Yeah,
I'm definitely intrigued because I know that's how the steak and butter gang
yeah,
rolls. They're big proponents of the fasting.
yeah,
I just know that like I from that terrible nervous breakdown and the complete adrenal collapse that and there's like a number of doctors that say, women like me that have been through something like that, fasting is not really recommended for us. So I do think that, there's a number of us that have pushed
mhm,
past a certain point where the body can actually do the long term fast, the
yeah,
long out, which is sad, like, but I'm not even hungry till 15 hours, so at least there's
mhm.
that, and I know that some good autophagy happens from 12 to 15,
Absolutely.
so
And you're keeping
so
your insulin low because
oh,
you're not
yeah.
feeding yourself for, that time, those 15 hours and whatnot. And it sounds like you're very calculated when you do eat. You
Mhm.
know what you're eating and you enjoy it. So, Kim, before we close out this, is there anything you want to drop or conversate about before we close out, girl?
No, I mean, I wanted to I'm so curious about what you eat, so someday
Yeah.
I want us to have a conversation of, like, your favorite foods, like, what you do when you sit down and have your one meal. I'm so curious, because maybe there's stuff I'm missing out on and can incorporate in my diet, but, we can do that another time.
All right, my friend, thank you for joining me on this conversation and catching up with you. And I will see you next Monday at 3 p.m. But, girl, I'm going to text you, okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right, love.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Okay.